Hello everyone and welcome to the second part of our Zoho Sheet webinar series. I'm Balaji and I'm excited to dive deeper into the advanced functions that will take your data analysis to the next level.
Hello everyone, I'm Rohit and today we'll be exploring some of more complex yet incredible powerful features in Zoho Sheet that can streamline your workflow and boost your productivity. And during the webinar, if you have any questions, please do raise them in the Q&A pane and we'll make sure they are getting addressed.
In today's session, we'll move beyond the basics and explore advanced functions in Zoho Sheet that are key to performing complex data analysis. We'll cover powerful formulas, automation tips, and how to handle large datasets with ease. If you missed our previous webinars where we covered the essential functions, don't worry, you can find the recordings on our webinar page. And today's session builds on those basics, so it's a great follow-up. And yes, as always, don't forget that Zoho Sheet webinars happen every third Thursday of the month. Mark your calendars to keep up with all the latest tips and updates.
Yes, so without further delay, let's jump into the webinar. Zoho Sheet is more than just a spreadsheet application. It's a powerful tool for transforming raw data into actionable insights. With its advanced function and seamless integration, Zoho Sheet empowers teams to create in real time, automate repetitive tasks, and gain deep insights from their data.
Not only that, Zoho Sheet offers advanced features like pivot tables, conditional formatting, and custom functions that allow you to personalize your data management experience. Whether you're dealing with complex financial models or large-scale inventory data, Zoho Sheet has you covered. Now, Rohit, what can participants expect from today's agenda?
Sure, Balaji. Today's agenda is focused on real-world use cases from several key industries that rely on Zoho Sheet for their day-to-day management tasks. We covered these industries in the first part of webinar, where we walked through the basic functions of Sheet. So in this part, we will dive into how these industries are utilizing Zoho Sheet's advanced function to enhance their operation and make their workflow more efficient. We'll see how the finance team can use Zoho Sheet to really work with numbers, then the marketing and the sales team to track past campaigns and predict future sales, then how the HR managers manage the employee records, calculate the leaves, evaluate the performance, appraisals and everything. Then the data analysts who are evaluating with sales performance, customer behavior and market trend. And we have the inventory management and the stock team to track the stock levels, forecast pre-cost order, and analyze sales performance. We will provide a practical example for each topic and discuss how you can effectively apply these functions to your workflow. And by end of the session, you'll have a deeper understanding of how to use Zoho Sheet's advanced function to streamline process and make data-driven decisions.
Let's kick things off with how a finance team can use Zoho Sheet to really work with numbers. In the first part of our webinar, we covered functions like PMT, which helps calculate payment per period for a loan with a constant interest rate and constant payments, as well as the IRR function, which is used to calculate the internal rate of return for investments. Let's imagine a scenario where a finance team aims to evaluate the effects of early loan repayment by examining the principal components and analyzing the standard deviation in cash flow across different investment projects. Rohit, can you walk us through which functions in Zoho Sheet would be most useful for the finance team in this case?
Yes, Balaji. So in the finance world, having the right tools to calculate the loan payments is very crucial. We have several built-in functions in Zoho Sheet, along with the custom function that can simplify these things for the finance team. So let's dive into a few key functions. So we have the cumulative principal function. This returns the total principal, that is the capital repaid on a loan, within a specific period. It's great for tracking how much of your loan that actually you have paid down. Then we have the standard deviation function. This calculates the standard deviation based on an entire population of range that we give. So in the finance team, it's often used to measure the volatility or the risk of different investments that has been made. Then we have the custom function, that is loan amortization function. So this helps us determine the total amount of paid on a loan, including both the principal and interest over the long term. So that we have seen the key functions, Balaji, could you take us down through how these functions work with the live example?
Absolutely, Rohit. Let's start by taking a closer look at the cumulative principal function, which is used to calculate the total capital repaid on a loan during a specific period of time. So, why is this important? Well, if you want to track how much of your loan principal has been paid off, especially over different time periods, this function makes it easy. It gives a clear breakdown of how much of your payments are going forward to the loan principal versus just paying the interest. So this is the syntax. So rate is the interest rate per period. N per stands for the total number of payment periods, and PV is the present value or the loan principal, the amount that you borrowed. And to start, this is the first payment period you want to include. Payment periods are numbered starting from 1. So if you want to track payments starting from the second year, this would be 2. And the type specify the payments are made. Let me show you an example of how this works. So in this spreadsheet, you can see the values, including the number of periods, the rate, the present value, the start and end period, and the types are added. So all you have to do to find the result is just simply type in the cumulative principal function and then select the range across so as they are placed right in order for it to be used in the syntax. And then all you have to do is just click on enter. Simply drag and drop it across so that it is calculated for all the values that are presented to it. Now let's move on to another useful function for financial analysis, so which is the standard deviation. So this function calculates the standard deviation based on the entire population. In finance, this is incredibly valuable because it helps measure the amount of risk or volatility across a set of investments. So this is a syntax. The number represents the numbers or range containing the population data you want for the standard deviation. And logical expressions like true are treated as 1, while false or text values are treated as 0 in calculations. This can be useful if you're dealing with data that includes logical tests or Boolean values. Let me walk through an example using some sample data. So we have a set of projects along with the revenue calculated. And if I'm looking to calculate the standard deviation in the cash flow for different investment projects, so just simply type in the formula. Select the revenue and just type in enter. That's it. Now that we have seen the inbuilt functions, Rohit, could you show me an example of how a custom function can be used for the financial team?
Sure, Balaji. Now let's dive into the loan amortization function. So like I said before, this is a custom function we have built to help the finance team calculate the total amount paid on a loan over its entire term, which calculates both the principal and the interest included. It's especially useful when you're looking to analyze the long-term loans like the mortgages or business loans. So here is the code to build the custom function. So first we have to define the integers, that is the principal, rate, and years. And the calculation is very simple. So principal into rate into years by 100 plus the principal amount. So this will give us the loan amortization value. Now let me show you how to create a custom function in ZoSheet and execute that. So first we need to go to the tools. In tools you have the custom function and create custom function button. So from here, give a name, and please note that while giving the name, it should not contain any spaces or special characters except for the underscore. Then we have to choose the result type, that is the integer. Now we have the deluge editor. So type the code here and save it. Now the function is saved. Now in your target cell, just enter the function name by giving equal to the function name, that is loan amortization. And we have to select the variables, that is the principal, the rate, and the number of years, which is the term of loan. Now you have the loan amortization value for the given variables. So now that we have covered some of the finance related functions, now let's switch gears and talk about how marketing and the sales team can leverage ZoSheet. So in part 1 of this webinar, We discussed how the forecast functions predicts future value based on linear regression. Then we saw the trend function helps with predicting future trends using an ideal straight line through the data. And in today's webinar, we'll dive into how marketing teams can filter and segment customer data based on multiple conditions, detecting missing data, analyzing the campaign ROI by comparing campaign cost with revenue over a specific cycle. So, Balaji, could you take us through which function Zoshi would be most helpful for the marketing team in this scenario?
Of course, yes, Rohit. There are several powerful functions that can truly enhance marketing data analysis. Let's go over a few key ones. Starting with the filter function, which allows marketers to filter a range of data based on specified conditions. For instance, if you want to isolate customer segments based on geography or spending behavior, this function can return just the subsets of data that meet those criteria. Next up, the mod function, which returns the reminder when one number is divided by another. It's surprisingly useful for tracking every end campaign or customer interaction. For example, if you want to analyze every third campaign, you can use the mod function to filter that data accordingly. And next up, a custom function that we'll be creating, which is the discounted price. So we have created this specifically for calculating the final price of a product after applying a discount. It's ideal for marketeers running discount-based campaigns who want to quickly assess the impact of various discount structures on pricing and profitability. Does that cover what you had in mind, Rohit?
Yes, Balaji, that's exactly what it needed. Now let's see an example using some of the functions that you just explained. To start with, we have the filter function. So this function tests a given range and returns a filtered version of the cell range that meets specific condition. This function is particularly useful in extracting insights from large data sets. Now here is the example we have. So in this table, I have the data, the region, the product category, and the product and the sales made by each product. Now I'm going to use the filter function to filter out the product category, that is grocery. So type in the function name, select the entire range, just the entire table. Now I'll choose a specific column that I'm going to filter, that is the product category column. I'll select that and I'll enter my target variable, which is the grocery. Now, as you see here, the new table is created that is filtered with the product category, that is grocery, and the respective units for it. And next, we have the mod function. So this returns the reminder when one integer is divided by another. This is useful in cases like tracking every campaign cycle or customer interaction in the marketing team. So here is the syntax for it. We have the mod, the number, and divisor. The number is whose reminders you want to find, and divisor is the function that we are going to use to divide the number. And also please note, the mod function can be represented in terms of int function only. Let me show you an example of how this function is works. So this is a very simple function. Type in the function name, enter a number that you want to divide, then the divisor. So this will give you the reminder. Very simple.
This can be incredibly handy when analyzing patterns or recurring data points in marketing campaigns. Now, I'd like to introduce a custom function that's particularly useful for a marketing team when running promotional campaigns. The function that I mentioned initially, which is the discounted price, which we specifically created for marketing teams. This function calculates the final price of a product after applying a discount. It can be incredibly useful when marketers want to quickly see the impact of discounts on their product pricing and profitability. So here is the code to build a custom function. The original price is the initial price of the product, and the discounted percentage is the percentage of the discount to be applied. So here is a quick example of how it works in action. So you have the original price and the discount rate available in this spreadsheet. And a custom function, I'll have to click on create custom function. Give the custom function a name. So in this case, I'm using discounted price. The description is optional, and the result type has to be changed to float. all you have to do is just type in the code, and after saving it, it is good to use in the spreadsheet. Now simply type in the formula, choose the range, and that's it.
Thanks, Balaji. So these functions really shows how powerful Zorsheet can be for the marketing teams, especially when analyzing campaigns and running discounts-based promotion. So now let's move on to the next industry, that is human resource.
So in the first part of our webinar, we covered functions like VLOOKUP, which looks for a value in the first column of your data table and returns the corresponding value from another column in the same row. And network days, which calculates the number of working days between two dates, factoring in weekends and holidays. Now, let's say the HR team needs to predict the future salary growth based on historical data, find the median salary to guide compensation reviews, calculate average attrition rates by specific criteria such as department or tenure, and while tracking any incomplete data, for example, missing names. Rohit, what are the functions that are useful for the HR team based on the examples that I provided?
Yes, Balaji. So we have few functions that will be really useful for the HR team. So this includes the median function. So this returns the median of a given number, helping the HR professionals to understand middle of their salary distribution. Then we have the average if function. So this returns the average of the value that meets a specified condition, perfect for analyzing data based on the employee criteria, like the employee tenurity or the department they are in. Then we have the custom function, which is the bonus calculation. So we have built this to calculate the bonus of an employee, which they will receive based on their salary and the company defined bonus percentage. So Balaji, can you explain these functions in detail with an example?
Of course, Rohit. Let's start with the median function. This returns the middle value in a given set of numbers, and if the set has an even number of values, it calculates the average of two middle numbers. So this is syntax. The numbers that you want to calculate in the median falls under number, and if the given set has even number of values, the median function calculates the average of two numbers in the middle. The text value in the given input are ignored. So here is an example. So you have the numbers right here, and you can just simply select the range. And if you're looking to calculate it for a different set of numbers, all you have to do is just type it in, and that's it. And next up, we have the average if function. So this returns the average of values in a range that meet a specific condition. So here is the syntax. The test range would be the cell range containing the values you want to text for the given condition. And the condition is, in fact, the given text condition. It can be a number, a text string, or an expression. And the average range would be the cell range from which you want to find the average of values. For example, you can search for cells in a column A that meet the condition, then take the average of corresponding cells in column B. This function ignores logical values like true or false within the range. Let me show you an example. So here you have the list of products and the units sold, and if you're looking to calculate the average units sold for the pen set, so just simply type in the formula, average if, and as you want it to be pen set, you have to select the range, and the name pen set has to be specified here. And by selecting the unit sold, you simply make use of this function, and that's it. So these functions really make the human resources team work a lot easier. Now, Rohit, can you show us an example of a custom function built for the HR?
Absolutely, Balaji. Now let's dive into the bonus calculation function. Like I said before, which is a great tool for the HR team to calculate employee bonuses based on specific criteria like their performance rating or the tenure rating. This custom function helps you quickly calculate the bonus across different employees depending on how you can structure the calculation in an organization. So here's the code for it. So the salary, the base salary of an employee, then the performance rating, typically on a scale of 1 to 5, then the number of years they have worked for the company. So here is a live example of how it works. So I have the salary of each employee, then the bonus percentage. Since we already have the code, we have to save this as a custom function. Follow the same steps. Give the key name. Choose your result type. And type your code in the delete editor. So here I'm choosing the result type as integer. Type the code here and save it. Now, as we have saved the custom function, click on the cell, enter a custom function name, and choose your variables for calculation, which in turns to be the salary and the bonus percentage. And now we can see we got the bonus percentage for each employee, which in turns to be the 4,000. Now let's move on to another important use case, data analytics. So in the part 1 of the webinar, we covered some functions like correlation function, which calculates the Pearson correlation coefficient between two data sets. Then the index function, which retrieves a value from the variable based on a row or column number that you specify. Now, the data analyst teams need to dynamically reorganize data, extract unique values from large data sets, and identify anomalies in sales data such as usually high or low sales figures. So Balaji, could you walk us through the advanced functions that will help for the data analytics team?
Absolutely, Rohit. Data analysts can leverage several powerful functions in Zoho Sheet to help with these tasks. Here are a few key ones, starting with the transpose function, which helps return an array when with its rows and columns are transposed, allowing analysts to rearrange data for different perspectives. And the devSQ function. So this calculates the sum of squares of deviations from the mean of a sample, which is useful for statistical analysis. And next up, the weighted average function, which calculates the weighted average of a dataset where different values have different levels of importance, or which are in turn called as weights. This is especially useful when analyzing data points with varying significance. Rohit, over to you to demonstrate how to use some of these functions.
So let's start with the simple function transpose. So it returns an array with its row and column switched. So here is the syntax, transpose, then the array that we are going to choose. So here is an example. So I have two columns of data. One is numbers, another one is letters. So I'm going to transpose from column to rows. So enter the function name, select your array of data. Now we can see the numbers are transposed from column to rows. So not only you can do this for single columns, you can also do that for multiple columns at once. Now I'm going to select both the columns at once, and you can see it got transposed to a row. So using this function, you can transpose from row to column or column to rows. And next we have the devXQ function, which calculates the sum of square of deviations from the mean of given sample. So here is the syntax, devXQ, and the number of cells or range containing the sample. And also, this function ignores the text, logical values, or empty cells in the data. Let me show you an example of how it works. So here I have a column of data. Now I'm going to find the sum of square of deviation for this range. So type in the function name, select your data range, which is the entire data column, and we have the sum of square of deviation for it. Now we have seen some examples of this inbuilt function. Now Balaji, can you show us an example of a custom function that's useful for the team?
Sure thing, Rohit. Let me introduce the weighted average function. It calculates the weighted average of a dataset where different data points have different levels of importance. So here is the code. So it has values range. This is the range of values that you want to average. Next up, you have the weight range. That would be the range of corresponding weights that indicate the importance of each value. This function is useful when analyzing datasets where some data points have more significance than the other. For example, sales data with varying quantities or employee performance metrics with varying evaluations. Let me show you an example. So you have the total value along with the weights, and if you're looking to calculate the weighted average, and you go to create a custom function. This has been well highlighted in our previous slides. So you give the function a name. The result type stays an int. You type in the code, save it, and all you have to do is just simply use it in your spreadsheet by selecting the range of your preference. And you can see the formula in action. And that's it.
Thanks for walking us through this powerful functions, Balaji. Now let's move on to the next industry.
Absolutely, Rohit. Let's discuss inventory management, especially for retail companies. And in the first part of the webinar, we saw the stock function, which is particularly useful for tracking stock market data directly in Zoho Sheet, and SumIfs function useful when you want to sum data based on multiple criteria. Now let's say the inventory management for a retail company wants to track stock levels, forecasting reorder needs, analyzing sales performance, and dynamically organizing the inventory data. Ensuring products are always in stock by setting up automating restocking alerts. Rohit, what functions in Zoho Sheet would be most useful for supply chain and inventory management? So what are your suggestions?
Yes, Balaji. For the retail and supply chain professionals, the function that I'm going to show are absolutely game changers. So first we have the minifs function. So this returns the minimum value from the given list of arguments based on specific conditions. Then we have the text join function, combines the text from multiple given range or a string with a specified delimiter separating them. And last we have the custom function, which is the restock level. So this calculates the quantity of stock that needs to be reordered when the inventory is very low based on the reorder points and the maximum stock level. So Balaji, I think you have a live example to show to us, right?
Of course, yes, Rohit. Thanks for outlining those functions. Let's jump into the live examples and see how these functions work. Let's start with the minifs function, which is useful when you want to return the minimum value from a range based on specific conditions. So this is the syntax. The min range is the range where you want to find the minimum value. The condition range is the range that contains the conditions you want to evaluate. And the condition is the criteria that you're setting. For example, if you're looking for values greater than 20, you would just simply type in greater than 20. So here is a live example. So you have the gender, age, weight, and formula. So all the values are present in the spreadsheet. All you have to do is just type in the formula, minifs, select the age, choose it again as it involves the criteria. Next up, you're choosing greater than 20. So this gives you the value 23. And next up, so again, you choose minifs. And in this case, you're choosing the weight and comparing it with the age. And you want it to be 23. And you're choosing the gender as well. The criteria you set is female right here. And the answer is 53. It's that simple. Next up, let's discuss the text join function, which is fantastic for combining text from multiple ranges or cells within a specified delimiter. So here's the syntax. The delimiter is the character or string you want to use to separate the text. For example, if you're joining names, you might want to separate them with a comma. And the ignore blank tells the function whether or not to ignore empty cells. And if you want to set it to true, empty cells will be ignored. And the text is in turn the text strings or cell ranges you want to combine. For example, A2 to A5 might contain a list of employee names. Here is a live example where we will combining fruit names. So you have grapes, apples, and oranges. And here is a formula in action. So you type in the formula text join. First, you start with the delimiter. In this case, I'm using a comma. So I'm ignoring blanks. I'm setting it as true. And I'm looking to combine apple, oranges, and selecting the range grapes. So you can see apple, comma, orange, comma, grapes. And next up, I'm choosing text join. I'm setting the delimiter as a hyphen. And false for the ignore blank case. I'm selecting the range and typing an enter, and that's it. So for the blank cell, you can see a hyphen was inserted as I chose false.
Thanks for that breakdown, Balaji. So those are really some helpful functions that can make the data management much easier. Now let's switch gears to a custom function, something specifically useful for the inventory management team. So we have the restock level function, used primarily in supply chain and inventory management to automate inventory tracking and ensure that restocking occurs at the appropriate time. It also helps their business avoid overstocking or running out of stock by calculating when it's time to reorder products. So let me show you the code. So we have the current stock, the quantity of item available in the inventory. Then we have the reorder threshold, the minimum quantity of products that you want to maintain before reordering. Then we have the safety stock, the buffer stock to accounts for the unforeseen demands fluctuation or delay in restocking. So let me show you an example. First thing first, we have to save the code in our custom function. Follow the same steps, go to tools, custom function, give a name for it, and save. And in our table, we have the current stock value, the reorder points, and the maximum stock for each products in our inventory. Now that the custom function is saved, let's find out the restock amount for the first product. So enter the custom function name, select your variables, the current stock, the reorder point, and the maximum stock. As you can see, for the first product, we already have excess 50 supply amount. And for the rest of the products, we need to reorder. So this will be very helpful for the inventory management team to make use of correct quantity of reorder whenever an item is unavailable in their stock.
Thanks for that, Rohit. Now that we have covered all the built-in and custom functions for each industry, we've got a good understanding of how to apply these functions to real-world scenarios. But as we all know, sometimes errors happen, and it's important to understand what they mean to troubleshoot quickly. Let me share a few common ones you might come across while using these functions. Starting with the not available error. This occurs when a function, like VLOOKUP, can't find the value it's searching for. Followed by the name. This happens if the function name is incorrect and if there's a typo or if double quotes are missing for text values. Also, a colon might be missing in the cell reference. Next up, the value error. You'll see this error when the data type for an argument is incorrect, like trying to use text in a range where a number is expected. Next up, the reference error. This pops up when a cell reference is invalid, perhaps due to a deleted, moved, or overwritten range.
Thank you, Balaji, for explaining the possible errors that we encounter during using the functions. And with that, we have come to the end of our two-part series webinar. To wrap up, we have covered some advanced custom functions used across various industries for managing data in Zoshi. We also took time to discuss some common errors you might encounter when working with this function. And just a quick reminder, this is a two-part series webinar. Last month, we covered some basic functions that are useful for the above teams. And in today, we have dived into the advanced functions and custom functions that can be useful for the different industries.
Thank you all for joining today's webinar. We hope you found this session valuable. And now that you're equipped with knowledge of advanced functions and custom functions in Zoho Sheet, this allows you to manage your data and calculations more efficiently.
Your participation really made this webinar more engaging and valuable for everyone involved here.
And if you need any further assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Our phone lines are open 24/5 for support, and you can find our contact details on our website. You can also reach us by email for any queries or assistance.
And for any instant help, we also have live chat support available 24/7. Simply visit zoho.com/workdrive and click on the chat icon that you can find at the bottom right corner and connect with the support agent immediately. And just a reminder, we host webinars on different topics every third Thursday of the month. So be sure to stay tuned for more insights and deep dive into Zoho powerful features. And also, today is our spreadsheet day. So happy spreadsheet day, everyone. And thank you again for attending. We truly appreciate your time and participation. We look forward to seeing you in a future webinar session.
And we're very glad to see that you have loved this webinar. Goodbye, everyone. And remember, happy data managing with Zoho Sheet. And again, a happy spreadsheet day.